Thanks everyone for being back on time. I am going to hand over to the wonderful Stephanie Spence from University of Melbourne, who is going to introduce our next speaker for us. So Steph, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thanks, Melissa. I hope everyone's having a good time. So this is the closing out session for session 2 today, but I would like to welcome Linda Parkman, who is presenting the next session, which is called Lean Language and Learning, a Cross-Industry Story. So Linda is a service improvement technical specialist here at the University of Melbourne. She holds a Bachelor of Engineering in honours in the chemical area and has 20 years of experience in the automotive industry. So lots of understanding of what we've been talking about earlier today. But she's successfully adapted her technical and process improvement expertise into the higher education environment. We're very lucky to have her. Linda's background is in product and data engineering, innovation, business improvement, and supply chain management. And this has equipped her with strong foundation in systems thinking and operational excellence, skill that she's now applying with us to enhance our university processes and service delivery. And like everyone on the call earlier, we've all been having that trouble with how we best put the student and service student and staff needs at the heart of everything we do. Linda is recognised for her collaborative approach and passion for building a culture of sustainable and continuous improvement across diverse settings. So she's based here in Melbourne, and just a little bit about her, she loves spending time with her family, her 2 cats, and enjoys gardening, hiking and travelling. So I hope we're all looking forward to this. I'll be moderating the chat as she goes, but I'd like to hand over to Linda.
Thank you so much, Steph. I really appreciate that intro. I'm just going to share my screen. That coming through okay? Excellent. I'd like to begin with acknowledging the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today and pay my respects to elders past, present and future. As Steph mentioned, I work on the University of Melbourne's Parkville campus, and that's on the unceded lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people who have lived on country for over 40,000 years. I recognise the unique place held by Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the original owners and custodians of the Australian continent. I acknowledge and I'm grateful for their deep and enduring knowledge and cultural practices of caring for this beautiful country. So yes, I'm Linda, Service Improvement Technical Specialist and part of the Enterprise Performance Group at the University of Melbourne. And I joined the university in May this year. Prior to joining University of Melbourne, I had around 20 years or so of experience in the automotive industry at Ford Motor Company. My career path, though, was quite different to my peers, and I was encouraged to share some stories from my career in today's Lean conference. Where it was different was that I spent roughly half of my time in engineering type roles, so ranging from things like being an exterior component engineer to working in supply quality assurance, product development innovation and connected vehicle data engineering. The other half of my career at Ford was in business roles, so things like procurement, business improvement and strategy. And as a result of that variety, I really have a broad toolkit and also a keen awareness for the language of the group that I'm working with. I was really interested to hear about the achievements of the Global Impact Award winners in today's conference and how they've adapted Lean to higher education. It seems that adaptability and adaptive mindsets is an emerging theme from today's conference. And so in today's session, I'll be sharing a few stories from my time in automotive and the adaptability of Lean tools across different environments. We'll explore the value of understanding core Lean principles and habits and how language can influence relevance and impact. And when we think about automotive and Lean, often our first thoughts turn to the manufacturing plants. So these are like the classic representations of a Lean environment. So there's efficiency, precision, continuous improvement embedded into every aspect of production. A typical Lean automotive manufacturing plant often looks like this one. This is a photo of an assembly line at a Ford factory in Michigan. highly organised. There's visual management tools, standardised work, streamlined processes, all designed to eliminate waste and maximise value. You see teams operating in sync. They're guided by routines like natural work group meetings. They perform root cause analysis, and every process is continuously refined to improve quality and respond quickly to customer demand, all while empowering workers to contribute their own ideas, take ownership of improvements as well. And it's in an automotive manufacturing environment, much like this one shown on the screen, that I first learned about lean. And one of my roles was in supplier technical assistance. I was part of a team of engineers who supported Ford's component suppliers to improve their quality and delivery performance. I spent years visiting all sorts of different manufacturing sites, conducting audits on quality systems and teaching lean and problem-solving tools to drive continuous improvement for the suppliers. In manufacturing settings, the processes to improve are, generally speaking, on display and they're easy to see. And so process improvement can be really hard to relate to outside of manufacturing environments where you can't just walk up to a process and see something being made. And whilst automotive does have these very visual manufacturing processes that are great candidates for continuous improvement efforts, it's also got many, many service and support functions. So departments like purchasing, HR, IT, customer service are all required to support the organisation. And these departments, they all receive the same message: focus on excellence, minimise waste, continually improve. And these same service areas exist in most industries, including higher education institutions. And I believe that the things in common don't end there. Both automakers and higher education institutions value a deep understanding of their customers or the students and prioritise their satisfaction. They operate in local and global markets and are impacted by external, political, economic, social and environmental factors. Both operate in highly regulated environments and need to adapt and to respond to disruptions, things like electric vehicles, connectivity and AI, whilst maintaining that bottom line. Many of you will know that the large automotive manufacturers stopped making cars in Australia back in 2017, but they do still remain here. And some are making strong global contributions in areas like product engineering and testing and development. And the focus still remains on prioritising the customer and doing things with excellence and minimal waste. When I studied for my Six Sigma Black Belt, my first two projects were very, very different problems. The first project was classic Six Sigma. It was reducing variation on painted vehicle components at a supplier's manufacturing site. My second project couldn't have been more different. It involved reducing variation in a business process for the purchasing department. Both projects had their own unique challenges and were difficult to achieve, but the Black Belt tools and DMAIC method could be applied in both scenarios. And so what I learned from this experience is the importance of understanding the key underlying principles of continuous improvement and to recognise that lean and DMAIC, they're not rigid technical tools, but instead they're flexible frameworks that can be applied in any environment, in any organisation, with some adaptations. And when it comes to adapting to the environment, I believe tailoring the language, being flexible and building from a strong foundation are key to leveraging the lean toolkit. When working with engineers in my technical roles, we had a lean and problem-solving technical engineering language. But I learned very quickly when I moved into business roles like purchasing that technical lean language really didn't fit. And it was important for me to adapt in order to have some impact. It's not to say that the principles of lean couldn't be applied, more that you need to understand the purpose so that you can choose the right tool for the job and then tailor the language to the environment you're working in. I like to think of it as having one foot firmly planted in the lean knowledge and the other foot planted in the unique nature of where you're working. Then you're standing on solid ground to deliver continuous improvement. An example of this was when I was a member of a team assembled to manage the continuity of supply of service parts when the decision was made to cease manufacturing vehicles in Australia. The project brought together so many different disciplines, groups who hadn't worked together in that way before. So finance, manufacturing, purchasing, customer service and warehousing. It was a very high profile and complex project. There was brand reputation at stake and a lot of interested senior people who needed an accurate status of the project at any given time. I was the business improvement manager on that project and turned to lean fundamentals, things that we've spoken about today, like SIPOCs, establishing key performance indicators and master schedules, problem-solving tools and visual management. And through tailoring these fundamental tools collaboratively with this new team assembled, we could deliver a successful outcome and provide transparency throughout the project. Excuse me. The tailoring of language becomes even more relevant when applying lean principles outside of an automotive context. Shortly after joining the University of Melbourne, I had a wonderful opportunity to join the team delivering the next cohort of the Enterprise Performance Group's capability program. And I'm aware that the University of Melbourne team has presented a session in this Lean HE conference around 2 years ago outlining the capability program, but I'll just give a very quick recap. It's a 14-week program. It's focused on service improvements, and it teaches participants who are staff from across the university a DMAIC framework and provides coaching to support their problem solving. And in keeping with the continuous improvement mindset, we refine the training materials based on past participants' feedback. Now, taking a rigid sort of cookie cutter approach to DMAIC would not have provided the participants in the capability program with the tools they needed to tackle problems in a higher education context. A flexible thinking approach and understanding the audience was needed. There are so many different lean and DMAIC tools, which I'm sure you're all across, but through focusing on foundational principles and relating the concepts to a higher education environment, the capability program provides the participants with the knowledge and the skills to implement continuous improvement. And further to that, they learn how the concepts are related so that they can continue to sustain and build the skills in their work areas. I wanted to show a couple of examples of how other industries have adapted lean language and tools to suit their environment as well. A colleague from the healthcare industry shared with me a model illustrated on the left. It's from Safer Care Victoria, part of their quality improvement toolkit. And we had a really interesting conversation about PDSA. It's shown there in the bottom of the funnel, Plan, Do, Study, Act. I was accustomed to seeing PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act. But she advised me that the word study aligns with healthcare because studying impact on patients is key in providing quality care. Looking at this model, it has the same foundational principles as what I was used to with PDCA, defining a change to test and how to perform it, documenting a data collection plan and observations, data analysis, but it's written in a way that's the most relevant to the people working in the healthcare environment. On the right is an example from an education context. The Department of Education in Victoria has a framework for improving student outcomes. It's an improvement cycle that depicts the process that Victorian government schools use to implement actions to improve students' learning and wellbeing outcomes. Their framework improvement cycle includes to evaluate and diagnose, prioritise and set goals, develop and plan and implement and monitor. It's aimed to be flexible. It can be used by an entire school or just in a single classroom. The framework also talks about the improvement process not always being linear, the importance of moving back and forth to check, learn and adjust as necessary. I recognise this as the same with DMAIC problem solving and PDCA, and this continuous improvement cycle has been developed to suit the education environment, and we can recognise the core principles here too. Now, embedding and sustaining lean really is a topic that could fill a whole other session, if not a whole other conference, but I did just want to make a couple of comments on my observations as they relate to adapting I really like this visual by Peter Hines and co. from Staying Lean, Thriving, Not Just Surviving, because this lean iceberg model illustrates that doing lean is not the same as being lean. The visible tools and techniques of lean are only the tip of the iceberg. Below the waterline are the enabling systems, the behaviours, the mindsets that are essential for sustaining lean over time. Strategic cascades and alignment, deployed leadership, and lean behaviours are evident in mature lean organisations such as automotive. I don't think I realised at the time exactly how immersive the lean culture was in automotive, but that focus on waste elimination, value creation, and data-driven decision-making permeated throughout the entire organisation, and the lean habits and mindsets are integrated into daily work. Less mature organisations often focus on the visible, above the waterline elements first, and this can lead to difficulty in sustaining the gains of lean. Sustaining the lean efforts is no small challenge, as I'm sure people in this conference can relate to. How do we adapt lean behaviours and ways of working into business as usual? I'd like to share my experience working in innovation, as there are many shared themes and challenges between lean continuous improvement initiatives and innovation initiatives. And one of those common challenges, as we've reflected on in the lean coffee, is integrating the skills into business as usual. As innovation leader for Asia Pacific, I was part of the product development organisation and responsible for accelerating innovative products and services in the region. We uplifted innovation capability, including human-centred design skills, prototyping facilities and training, and would run product sprints and innovation events that generated new value for customers. One of the key challenges for the product development team was finding time to innovate. And that's a common theme in continuous improvement activities too. People are really busy. Finding time to look for opportunities for improvement can be difficult. I found that approaching this barrier from a different perspective was helpful. So instead of considering innovation or continuous improvement as additional work to be done on top of business as usual, how do we leverage the know-how to help us solve our business as usual challenges? In the innovation role, this looked like meeting with senior product development leaders and reviewing their organisational goals and objectives for the year. With the expertise in innovation, I could then identify with them which objectives or projects would specifically benefit from leveraging the innovation toolkit. And from there, we could co-design innovation events for their teams that would be tailored to deliver an outcome that achieved their objective. In this way, it wasn't additional work for their teams, but a fresh approach to delivering an already committed project whilst uplifting capability at the same time. I believe the same is true for lean and continuous improvement. Through understanding foundational principles and focusing on a vital few business goals, then you're empowered to spot opportunities to leverage the tools within your daily work for maximum impact. It's also a worthwhile exercise to examine waste in how we work to create time for value-added activities. For example, a meeting makeover can create significant time in the week. Things like bringing structure to meetings, carefully considering who needs to be there, and if we don't need to meet, then cancel the meeting. Having stand-up meetings tend to shorten the duration as well. I don't need to tell this audience of the value of building a community. You've done such a wonderful job with this lean community practice. In the innovation community, we had what we call power users, individuals who were drawn to innovation, spent their weekends innovating and loved talking about their creations. And we'd find them, connect them, and have a weekly forum where they could meet with like-minded individuals and then leverage that forum for our training and events. This really grew peer-to-peer learning and collaboration, and it was that safe space, like was referred to earlier. For innovation, it was great to talk about failures. That was really encouraged. In fact, we created a Fearless Failure Award in an annual ceremony, and that provided opportunities to learn and iterate. Not all projects need to be large ones. Micro projects, small continuous improvements often have a large impact over time. This is the Kaizen mindset that we heard earlier in the conference. Continuing to monitor and improve with a PDCA or PDSA mindset helps embed this thinking into daily work. I'd like to wrap up today's session with an infographic that illustrates elements covered, including lean foundational principles, adapting the language, and a visualisation of what lean can look like in daily practice. This was prepared for the EPG capability program to illustrate how lean and problem-solving concepts are interrelated and what it can look like in daily practice. So this infographic's not industry specific, but it represents the synergy that's created when you bring together lean and problem-solving concepts. So the collaborative efforts, structured problem-solving, waste reduction combine, and their impact is amplified. And by embedding these habits into business as usual activities, teams can be empowered to drive sustainable continuous improvement and to maximise impact. A quick outline of the elements shown here on the graphic. Establishing routines in the top left helps build lean into business as usual activities. Teams may already have an established meeting routine that lean activities can be added to. If not, establishing routine team connections is a great place to start. The team connecting in the centre of the infographic is showing how to incorporate some fundamental lean activities into team meetings. These activities include things like using visual management to review KPIs, along with sharing projects, timelines, fishbone diagrams, project summaries. And underpinning this connection is a clear understanding of who the team's customers are, be them students, staff, etc., as well as the business goals. You can see the team talking about their customers and goals during their review. Leadership engagement and communication of business goals and context is key to supporting the team to maximise their impact and delivered benefits for the organisation as well. Structured and collaborative problem solving on the top right can be an action from a team review to resolve an issue or to make an improvement. Tools like PDCA, A3 problem solving or DMAIC provide structure to guide the team. And that problem solving work feeds back into team review for status updates and flagging where help's required. And just like we apply a continuous improvement mindset to our work, we can apply this thinking to continuously develop our own competencies and developing people around us, as shown in the bottom right here. By continuing to learn and build lean and problem-solving skills, we can tackle more complex issues and deliver impactful, measurable outcomes. Understanding waste and applying tools like 5S reviews are powerful in assisting teams in identifying new improvement opportunities, large and small. And when teams establish regular routines for looking for waste, like shown in the bottom left, they can share their findings back into the team connections and identify problems to solve. By applying prioritisation tools with a clear understanding of customers and business goals, team reviews can then focus their resources on solving the key problems. So as you can see here, it's another non-linear model. The lines on the infographic are really representing the synergy and showing that these activities are highly connected. They don't need to all be in place and running perfectly to provide benefit. Teams can really make a start in any area, working together to add elements, iterating and learning. And over time, these lean habits and mindsets can become embedded in daily work. So I'd like to wrap up by thank you for staying on through the afternoon listening. I'd really love to hear how you've adapted lean to your environment and welcome any questions that you may have.
Linda, thanks for the presentation. It was great. You're such a trooper. I guess what I really wanted to know first, coming from outside of higher education, did it surprise you? Were you surprised to what you found when you joined?
Just in general, like
yeah, just in the ways of working. And I know certainly when I joined higher education, I was gobsmacked with the way things worked. I mean, that was a little while ago now, so things have improved since then. But was it a bit of a culture shock for you?
Very, very different from automotive world. I think like I spoke of there, the language I was aware of from working in different teams, but the language in higher education is different too. I can't remember who it was mentioned before about the collaborative nature too. That's quite different. Like the amount of sharing across different institutions is very different from coming from automotive, where all the manufacturers tend to keep their knowledge very closely to their chest. For obvious reasons with selling products. But so the pleasantly surprised. There's a lot of collaboration here, how people work together, but the language is quite different too. So from my background in engineering and working in engineering culture, people can speak very directly, not rudely, but efficiently, I guess, just very, very directly. And that's something that I have noticed, the deep and rich language used in higher education.
That's so insightful, Linda. Thank you. And
Thanks.
Nice to hear.
Thanks, Kate. Can you still hear me? I think I dropped out while I was halfway through a question, so I'm sorry about that. Natasha's popped a question in the chat. Linda, what are the biggest roadblocks you've encountered to getting teams on board to collaborate, and any advice for those? You mentioned the issue of people not having time and flipping that, which was helpful, but is there anything else?
Getting teams on board. I think positioning it as not more work to do, but deeply valuing people's time and wanting to work within that. So by that I mean, for the innovation example, not having the expectation that people can just do more and more and more, but rather how do we free up time, or how do we use these tools to help what you're already struggling with. So it is that perception and how it's explained, because everyone's time poor. But biggest roadblocks, and also getting that buy-in from senior leadership on the value of what you're offering, on the tools that can be offered, demonstrating that, and finding the power users. Like the people that I'm sure you have people like this in your organisations too, who just really love a particular discipline, whether it's continuous improvement, lean, innovation. They live and breathe it. They can't help it, but see opportunities to improve, and giving them space, celebrating those people as well is really important.
Thanks, Linda. Chris has actually asked a great question, and I might share a small anecdote and then feel free to jump in. So Chris has said, CI is central to core business in automotive, but not so much in HE, typically not in the classroom. And he's asked if you've had any interest from academics in working on processes and problems core to teaching or research, as opposed to supporting processes. And I just wanted to jump in because, Chris, I'm working on a project here in enrolment called Enrolment Redesign, where we are looking at the student and staff experience and being able to unlock student barriers to self-managing their enrolment. And we've just had a small win in an academic area in the mathematics and statistics school, where they've actually looked at amending a prerequisite because they can see how and it's taken a long time, but they're looking at amending a prerequisite for a subject because they can see over time that it hasn't been a beneficial. It's created more work and duplication and blocking and blockers than it has needed to, and that student grades have not been impacted necessarily. And so but yes, we traditionally find that it's more in the supporting process area, and our academics are also not. They're coming around, I think, to adapting and being willing and maturing to seeing how process improvement and change can benefit both the support processes as well as some of the teaching and research processes. Linda, did you want to add anything to that? Or
yeah, I'm curious as to why people think it's not embedded in. I'm just looking at Bikram's comment there. It should feature strongly in teaching and research. It's interesting that isn't really explicit. Why do we think that it isn't included? because it's quite right. Chris made a comment that it's core business in automotive, and I think I mentioned in the session that I probably didn't really appreciate just how core it was until seeing it from the outside, and it's like, oh yeah, it really was integrated in all the purchasing processes and all the from every element. And I'm curious as to why we think it doesn't feature strongly.
So I'm Chris, University of Queensland. I guess the way I understand Lean is often rolled out in universities is we will look at, as you said, finance, IT, HR, etc. I guess my own experience and what I've observed from talking to other people is that doesn't grab the hearts and minds of university leaders who are always academics, or usually academics. And so that's what I mean by core business. It gets at things that they might be interested in improving and saving money on, but it doesn't get at the heart of what they do the way I would imagine it does in automotive.
Vikram, I can see you've got your hand up. Oh, you're still on mute.
There we go. Thank you. I might try and answer some of that question, Linda. I think it's a really pertinent question. I find perhaps it's because we don't, as academics, we don't necessarily think of teaching as a process, and so don't think there is process improvement necessary. It's often been about, do we make better content? Is our information up to date? When it's doing research, are we drawing the right conclusions? How, you could step back from it and say, hey, what you're doing is iterative improvement, but it's not looked upon necessarily as a process. And so all of this logic that seems really obvious for a group like this don't necessarily translate as well. And thinking back to what Rufus was saying at the beginning of the day, getting people to think like that may be both the big hurdle, but also the big secret.
I want to raise the comment that a few years ago that pracademic was something that was mentioned. And I loved that as a notion. And I think, Vikram, you're right. I think about some of the challenges we're having, Linda, at Melbourne at the moment, where curriculum changes are quite common, which is fantastic. You might look at it as an innovative and an improved curriculum because there might be new research that's come out. And so we've got academics continually changing subjects or content or course content, which is fantastic from a learning perspective. But our systems and processes aren't as adaptive and quick to change. And I think that's probably where some of the challenge is that we're finding here at the University of Melbourne. How do we best do that to adapt? Because the systems underpinning some of the delivery of that teaching or research is not as quick to change. So look, I'm also aware that it's 4:49. I'm not sure, Melissa, I don't want us, these are some excellent questions and some excellent discussion. Can we keep going or
keep
please
going.
continue?
This is really interesting. Please do.
I wanted to actually just summarize before, which I didn't do, just to say thanks, Linda, for such a fantastic presentation. I think it was great how you talked about the importance of language. I loved the comments and discussion around the relationship between innovation and continuous improvement, and about frameworks being frameworks, but still having the ability to be flexible and adaptable, choosing the right tool for the right problem or the right job, as the phrase that you used, I think, from an automotive perspective. It's really important for us to remember that, having that and the planting your feet firmly, one in the lean knowledge space and one in the problem, so that you've got good grounding. That was really important. Something that struck me was the discussion around the focus on waste elimination in automotive. I feel like a challenge we have in higher ed is, and maybe to the conversation we're having about academics or pracademics, and about sometimes not seeing something that they do or a process step or a change, or not seeing it as wasteful, and being able to come to that compromise around understanding the value of the change, and then how we enact or operationalize that change to then be able to come to a compromise around how we can do it so that the staff and students have the best experience. So I just wanted to summarize that. Now I think there's some other comments. Muhammad Ibrahim, CI is important in higher ed, though, through the regular review of process to ensure. Oh, yep. Yeah, thanks. That's awesome. Linda, what has been your experience in talking to senior leaders? Is it that we maybe need to pitch it differently?
Yeah, I'll probably reflect on a couple of things. I also really enjoyed Professor Black's opening address today, keynote, and I was madly taking notes in there, where he spoke about the importance of having people within the institution performing the work rather than buying in the expertise. And I couldn't agree more. I was thinking about that's very much the theme of what I was saying is that you need to understand the tools, but you need to understand where you are working. Not the same tool won't work everywhere. The same words won't work everywhere. I know the word Kaizen can be off-putting for some, and I think that was mentioned in the last session as well. And so just to relate that to Chris's question about talking to senior leaders, it's again understanding what do they care about, what's important for them, what are the problems they're struggling to get done, what are the jobs they're struggling to get done, what's on their to-do list for the year, and if I understand from that perspective, then make that connection to sort of say, well, this is how innovation can help, or this is how continuous improvement can help. If we were to eliminate waste, we can free up time to do whatever project. So I think it's about putting in that thinking from their perspective of what they have to deliver, together with your knowledge of continuous improvement, and marrying the two to show this is how continuous improvement or lean is benefiting or can benefit what you're trying to achieve. Yeah, it's adapting the language again, but I like to think of it as creating new value, and so it's important that I see things from the perspective of the senior leader and what they have to achieve, and how then I can support with specific tools or frameworks, knowledge in those initiatives. I hope that answers your question, Chris. Happy to connect separately and talk more if it would help.
I think that's all the questions. Thanks again, and I'll hand it back to you, Melissa, for the wrap up.
Thank you.
Oh, we've got Alessandra.
Oh, did we have a hand up? Sorry, did I miss a hand up? It's not everyone's on my screen. Ale, was that a hand up from you?
I think it was actually a round of applause for Linda. So I think massive round of applause for Linda. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Pleasure.
I think it's always so good to get those fresh perspectives from people who are new to higher education, and to help us remember how we're different but the same. So thank you, and also thank you for doing this while you're unwell. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go and lie down.
Thanks, Melissa.